Today we have a very familiar story in John's Gospel, the wedding feast at Cana. And there are many things that we could say about this moment in the life and ministry of Jesus. For John, it's the beginning of Jesus' public ministry, an encounter to sort of experience his power, his presence. It's one first of many, many miracles. It's a moment for others, especially his disciples, to have their first encounter in his glory through the miracle of the changing of the water into wine. And I could go on and on mentioning other moments, other experiences that this story draws us into. We could talk about John's theology or his mysticism or the countless reflections about this particular story that have come to us down through the ages. However, I'd like to take a little different approach today. To me, the most interesting part of this gospel story is the young couple who is getting married. The story tells us that Mary's at the wedding and that Jesus and his disciples have also been invited. But who is this couple? We don't know. The only thing we really know about this couple is that they invited Jesus into their celebration, into their journey of life, and their journey of life never was the same. So in some ways, maybe the question that the story asks us is, have we invited Jesus into our home, into our lives? Think of Peter. He invited Jesus into his home. Jesus cured his mother-in-law, and really, Peter was never the same. You think of Jairus, the synagogue official that invited Jesus into his home, and he cured his daughter, and their lives were never the same. And again, the gospel story shows us examples, one after another, of people inviting Jesus into their home, into their lives, and they're never the same. When I was growing up, my family, we had a picture, a portrait of Jesus that was done by Warner Salmon. It's a very famous one. Millions upon millions of copies have been made. You often see it in many different places, on holy cards, whatever. But we had this portrait, and it was in our living room in every house I ever lived in, whether it was Pittsburgh or whether it was Harrisburg or Philadelphia or Chicago. That picture was up until my mother finally passed from this life. It was always in whatever room or place that she was living also. And I would bet that I walked by that picture thousands of times. But at some point in time, in the early days of weeks or months of my mother and father's life together, they chose to buy that picture and put it into their home. And I would bet our lives changed. And I believe, I hope, for the better because of Christ's presence through that portrait in our family life. I think our story, no matter how we look at it, no matter whether we concentrate on the miracle or whether we concentrate on Jesus' interchange with his mother, I think our picture really sort of focuses us on whether or not, by asking the question on whether or not we have invited Christ into our life. That's the challenge. When people engage Jesus, when people allow him to be part of their lives change. They're never the same again. And the vast majority of times, they're never the same again in a better way. So maybe as you wander through this day, this week, you might pause for a moment and ask that question of yourself. Have you invited Christ into your home? Have you invited him into your life? Have you allowed him to make a change in your life?